Hello dear students, welcome to the online education of class 6 science. So dear students, in the previous class we were discussing about the means of transport. Later on we discussed about how far we have traveled. So how can we measure the length of the desk by using a gilli and danda? So based on the size of the gilli and danda we can measure the size of the table, of course. But if the size differs in the gilli and danda, then definitely both the equal line of symmetry which can divide the desk into two equal halves cannot be possible. So the length of the desk seems to measure using the gilli and danda in figure 10.3 is not exactly correct, but in figure 10.2 it's correct because there is an increase in size in the length of the either gilli or danda in figure 10.3. So hence we need to go through some of the different processes here. So when you measured the new set of the table with a new set of gilli and danda, the desk length seems to be about two dandas and length of the dandas and one gilli length. Okay, with a small length still is left out. Okay, what happened here? So when you have taken new set of gilli and danda, at that time what happened here is the length seems to about two danda length is about 2 danda and 1 gilli length with a small length still left out, means another gilli length is still extra, it is there, it's left out. So this is less than the one gilli length. Okay, so now what happens here, we would suggest that those both the students to measure the length of the whole desk. Okay, so now you can you use the cricket what you can say bales can to measure the length of that table no, window or the sorry that desk? It's not possible. So it is again creating a problem. Hence we should think of the doing something else which is creative one. See, so we can even take the string and mark the 2 points on it, and this will be the string length. Okay, take one piece of string and mark any two ends on that, so that will be the length of the string. So now they can measure the width of the desk in string lengths. How much is the length of the string, how much time you will measure, how much distance it will take, that will be calculating the length of the desk. So how can they use the strings to measure the length of the desk? So distance is less than the length of the string, sometimes it may be. So they can fold the strength of the length to mark it into 1 by 2, 1 by 4 and 1 by 8 string lengths. So this is all again creates a big problem, because as it does not create the proper idea or exact length of the desk by using a string. So hence what we need to do is, okay, of course in our compass box we have a scales in our geometry box or a compass box. So you can be reading about the people who the way they used to measure the distances. Okay, so before and what are the distance units used to measure the lengths. Okay, in standard scales were made nowadays, and he has been trying that. See, we have been trying to follow different methods of measuring distances. In the earlier days we have been using, the people have been using the distances by before by using simple things. Now the standard scales were have been used, okay, were made to make the exact measurement of the object. Okay, or to different methods of measurements tools are used to measure the distances. Okay, so there are so many occasions when we come across a need to measure the length of the objects. See, there are many situations in our day-to-day life we come across where we need to occasions where we need to measure the length of the object. Okay, or length of the distances. See, so anywhere you are going, so you will calculate about the length of that object first. Okay, any small things also you need to calculate the length of the object. For example, a tailor needs to measure the length of the cloth to in order to stitch the shirt for a person, or to stitch a kurta. So he need to measure the cloth, then take the measurement of your body, then he will come to know whether to take the still more length of the cloth, or if this much is enough. Okay, the tailor needs to measure the length of the what length, height and width of the cupboard to know how much wood he would have need to make to its door. Suppose if he wanted to make a door, he wants to measure the length of the cloth to measure the length, to in order to stitch a cloth for a person, he wanted to measure how much width, how much length. So everything he needs to know. In the same way, he needs to measure the length of the any wood to measure in order to make the door. Okay, this is how the measurement plays very important role. Okay, So how much wood will it need to make a door? So that's what again it comes under that that concept only. The farmer also needs to know how much is the length of the land. He needs to know his land, how much he need to sow the seeds. What is the whether it is an 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre, he must know the length of his wood, his field, okay, to in order to sow the seeds, okay, in his area. So and even length and breadth also needs to be needed, okay. So he wants to know the length of the breadth of the area of his land to know how much seed he can sow, and how much water should be needed for these crops, how much seed needs to be sown in this particular acres of land, and how much amount of water can be needed to water these crops, okay. That also will be calculated. So suppose you are asked to such questions, okay, how can you express that answers, okay. So you can just find out the way you can measure them. So all these questions have one thing in common, that is they all have concerned distances, okay, between the two places, whether it's meter, kilometer or centimeter, okay. The two places may be close enough, so we measure using a centimeter. If they are little, two ends of the object is more, the table is suppose, so it little more it is, so meters, okay. Still it is, so the length of the two objects is still more, then we use the kilometer. So this is how we can use the length of the objects, okay. So dear students, let me stop here and let me continue on the next bit. Thank you and have a nice day.